Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the I Am CDB project. I, of course, am your host, CDB. You are not. And today we're going to use the Defender because I didn't shave the dome yesterday, so I got a little bit more growth. So we're just going to wet that down right now. And as I was telling you in the last head shave video, if you use the like Harry's or something or a regular cart every day, it works really well. But when you get a few days growth or something, it wasn't as good. So we're going to go back to the Defender, which I like. Essentially having 2 days growth here and see what happens with that. I expect it to go well and not clog. See, these blades are quite a bit further apart, so it doesn't clog as much as you might with the Harry's or traditional, 4 or 5 blade razor where they're super close together. Hair just gets trapped in there and clogged and so on, and it's not really good for anything. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate, in these videos I talk about kind of anything that's on my mind, including what goes on in the world and so forth. So I appreciate those of you who watch these videos for that sort of content. Certainly not everybody agrees with my worldview and so on, and I understand that. But I appreciate those of you who, appreciate and watch. I'm going to change the blade on this because there was an old blade on it. I didn't know how much it was used. And again, that's a piece of advice I think is a good piece of advice. If you start shaving and you sense that your blade is just shot, change it right then and there. Don't struggle through a shave for absolutely no reason. There's nothing to gain from using a busted or worn out blade. You're just going to make a really bad, or potentially have a very bad experience. And nobody wants that, or at least you shouldn't. Anyhow, a few things I've been thinking about recently. I got to tell you, today had to go to Lowe's because, preparing for winter and all, and I went to get some ice melt and so on and so forth. And one of the things I'll tell you is, you remember back in the day, you could get 5-gallon buckets and they were sort of rubbery. Like, that is to say, they didn't get brittle. I bought a 5-gallon bucket from Lowe's last year and I put some ice melt in it. And I went to take the top off. It was cold one morning, and the whole thing, the top shattered because it's brittle plastic. That's not the way those things used to be made. And so I need to find, one of the old style white ones that wasn't so brittle. But anyway, so I go to Lowe's, I get my ice melt and another 5-gallon bucket, which, is not that great a quality. And I figure Chick-fil-A's across the road, so I go over to Chick-fil-A. And no, I'm not boycotting Chick-fil-A because they chose not to give to certain organizations. As I've said before, I like the service at Chick-fil-A. I like the way they do business. For a fast food place, they have pretty good food. And so, no, I'm not boycotting. I didn't boycott before when people are up in arms, and I'm not boycotting now. Like, it's just not anything that I'm interested in doing. All the conservatives, before it was leftists that were mad at Chick-fil-A and boycotting, and now conservatives are, and I'm like, come on, people. It's a chicken sandwich shop, so I'm not boycotting Chick-fil-A. I like the fact that they stood up for themselves and gave to who they wanted to. I'm sad that they abandoned their philosophy on that, at least in part, due to pressure. But look, they want to make money. That's what it comes down to. These companies want to make money, and so that's, what they've chosen to do, and that's fine with me. So no, I'm not boycotting Chick-fil-A like the conservatives are calling for. In my worldview is somewhere in the middle. I'm more about liberties than anything else. That's what I'm concerned about first and foremost. So a lot of these candidates are very scary to me. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but back to the story. So I go over to Chick-fil-A and grab some food for my wife and I, breakfast food. And then there was a wreck and it blocked the whole road. So there was no way for me to get back. No easy way. So Walmart, and there's a bunch of other stuff there. So I had to go to the store because I had to get some things, the grocery store. So I was like, oh, shoot. Walmart was the only option and I needed to kill time. So I went over to Walmart, which I rarely go to Walmart. I don't have anything against Walmart in terms of their practices, the way they do business. Again, they're a business. They're there to make money, so on and so forth. But man, I gotta tell you, it is painful to go to Walmart. Like at least here, there's just so many people. And this was like very early, like 8:30. It's already got people all over the place. And like people are shopping. They push their cart in the middle of the aisle just in a way that you can't get by. And you're just standing there like, really? Or they're talking to each other, 2 or 3 abreast in the aisles. And you're like, let's get on with it. I got to go somewhere. It's really irritating. And me, when I'm shopping, I always try to push my cart over or do things to make it easier for other people. That's just what I think you should do. But boy, at Walmart, no such luck. Just constant aggravation. I found myself like, I need to get out of here as soon as possible because it's just, everywhere you turn, like you're blocked by either people talking or someone doing what or someone doing something. And it's just 8:30. And I'm like, whew. And so anyway, my feelings on that are, I normally go to, like, in this area, there's Kroger and so forth. And I kind of prefer to go there just because it's less crowded and people are generally more well-behaved in Kroger. At Walmart, you just get everything. So anyhow, that was the experience this morning. And Walmart, sometimes it's a very bizarre place. I'm just going to tell you. And I know my story is not particularly compelling, but those of you who go to Walmart from time to time or avoid it, as I do, will understand exactly what I'm talking about. But anyhow, back to worldview. My worldview is such that, naturally, I lean somewhat right, but I'm not a conservative. I'm certainly not a leftist. I'm really concerned with liberties like freedom of speech, and all our liberties here in the United States. So that's really what drives my vote, or who are the candidates who are in favor of upholding our liberties, because that's the most important thing for me. And when I hear them like Bloomberg, the nanny, the Mr. Ban large soda guy, I'm immediately turned off by any sort of nanny. I heard him, actually saw a clip the other day where he was basically saying, poor folks need decisions made for them through taxes and whatnot. So when we levy a big soda tax, they won't buy as many sodas, essentially alluding to the fact that they're too ignorant to know any better. And whether or not you believe that is true, that's not the job of Mr. Bloomberg. Additionally, Mr. Bloomberg, he owns Bloomberg News, and they will not cover his candidacy. And I'm like, but they're covering everyone else's, so why would they not cover his candidacy? And I think that's a conflict of interest, and he should either, who knows? I just don't think it's right for them just to come out and go, we're not going to cover Bloomberg. In fact, some of the reporters at Bloomberg have left over that. Basically, not allowing them to cover his campaign, good or bad. I understand he might not want them to do positive coverage because it looks like a conflict of interest, but there's also a lot negative to say about Bloomberg as I see it. So anyway, I'm really concerned with liberties and those not being suppressed, and I'm really concerned about social media companies and them clamping down on speech that isn't dangerous and labeling things as, with words and then saying, oh, you can't say that because it might offend someone. And I'm like, that's really not For me, the fact that people get upset by things that people say is not of great concern, because you don't have to listen. You don't have to consume that type of information. You can go elsewhere. And these social media companies clamping down on, all these words. And, it's one thing if you try to motivate people to perform an action that's a crime. Obviously that sort of speech is a problem. But when somebody's espousing maybe a religious point of view or something, and they get banned for saying something that is in accordance with the latest woke principle, I'm not about that. I'm like, let them speak, and let the woke folks speak too, and maybe somewhere along the line, maybe people will intersect, or at least have some common ground. That's sort of my the way I feel about it. Anyway, I'm done. That was or finished, I should say. For growth of more than a day, the Defender did a really, really good job. Doesn't clog the way the Harry's does. So consider that razor, if you will. Thanks as always for listening to my stories. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I've been your host, CDV. You are not. God bless.